Well, hello everyone, and you join us here today to talk about a brand new Breitling hot off the press, a new Superocean. Tom, Breitling's obviously been around for a very long time. We haven't been around quite as long as Breitling, but for the amount of overlap that we've been around and Breitling's been around for, what's been your feeling on the stuff that they've been producing?
Generally, they're not my favourite. Some of their Superoceans are quite nice. Their Navitimer, I get a bit of a headache when I look at that dial. Looking at that dial for me is like being a first year going into a maths lesson and there's the previous lesson's A-level work still up on the board and you look at it and you go, what the hell is that? I hope I don't ever have to deal with that. That's my feeling on the Breitling Navitimer dial. But yeah, generally Breitling, not my favourite, but I'm open to anything. You know me, Andrew.
I think what you're maybe too polite to say there is that, hey, Breitling have made some fine watches. They've not really made any stinkers, but there's nothing there that really makes you think, do you know what? That's a bit tasty. I want that.
Ooh, I need that on my wrist right now.
Exactly. And I do think they've been dining out on the Navitimer for a long, long time. Those bones are picked bare.
Sure.
And it doesn't make sense because they've got an enormous, fantastic back catalogue of products. They're one of the big hitters when it comes to the watch industry. And so it's been great to see in recent years that they have been starting to plumb those depths and bring back some of that awesome heritage. With, for example, the Superocean Heritage 57, which we saw fairly recently. Very, very nice watch. Well, Tom, they are doing it again with the Superocean Automatic, which has just been launched by the Surfer Squad.
Ooh.
Now, I don't know about you, but the Surfer Squad sounds like one of those G.I. Joe type public service announcements where they're like, don't throw that in the water, Jimmy. Aw.
Yeah, they sound a little bit proactive, don't they? Like some sort of 80s environmental team from Saturday morning cartoons.
Surfer Squad! They poke their noses in where it doesn't belong and they're just proper know-it-alls and just leave me alone.
Do-gooders.
But aside from those meddling Surfer Squad individuals who are out there spoiling everyone's fun
on the haunted pier,
this new Superocean Automatic is a little bit of interesting. Can I give you a little bit of history on it?
Yes, please.
It's inspired by the 1960s Superocean slow motion. Basically, what Breitling did is they came to the dive watch game a little bit late with their original 57 model, and they were thinking like, oh, we make chronographs. Chronographs are cool. How can we make a chronograph dive watch that's different and interesting? And so what they did is they took a dive watch, they put their chronograph in it, and they ditched the seconds hand. And everyone was like, what?
Nice chronograph, bro.
The seconds hand is the thing that you use to tell if your watch is running, so it's kind of a weird idea to do.
Sure.
But they replaced the chronograph seconds hand and the running seconds hand with a chronograph's minute hand.
Right.
And they put a big chunky minute track around the inner edge because they were thinking, well, when you're diving, you want to know how long things have elapsed in minutes.
Yeah.
So your air filters or your oxygen time or the time to your next checkpoint, for example. And so you can then use the bezel with the running minutes and you can use the minute track with a minute chronograph.
Right, yeah. And you can zero the minutes as well, which is quite handy to time stuff.
Exactly. But of course, creating a new solution to a problem that didn't exist made more problems that they had to solve, such as the fact that when the chronograph was running, you couldn't really tell because it's going around once an hour. So they then had to add a little dot just above the 6 o'clock marker that just changed colour, just rotated around so you knew it was running. But you still didn't know if the watch itself was running, so nice try.
Right, okay, yeah.
Anyway, things are a little bit different now, so they are revisiting.
Potentially dangerous is what you're saying.
Yeah, potentially dangerous, like... you can imagine the diver just very short on oxygen, just lifting it to his ear, giving it a rattle, like, is this thing on? And then promptly dying.
Oh dear.
So they have revisited this style. It's more about how it looks than how it runs. You don't get the chronograph anymore. It does have running seconds. The minute track isn't for timing anything with really, because you can't reset the minute hand unless you change the actual time manually. But nevertheless, it looks a bit different. It looks a bit interesting. Some of it. We'll get into that in a second. Tom, do you want to take us through the very lengthy specs for this watch?
Yeah, right, yeah. So you were so right when you predicted that this year was going to be a colourful year and we were going to see lots of different colour variations. So that's what we've got in this lineup as well. Many different colours, 4 different sizes, 46mm, 44, 42 and 36, and 3 different case materials: steel, steel and gold, and bronze. That's 16 variations in total for this watch. So find the one that suits you best.
I do note with the case size that they've missed out the most popular case size, the 39 to 41 millimeter category, for some strange reason that is beyond me.
So 42 it is. So yeah. Each one comes with 2 strap options, rubber or bracelet. The bronze version is a special alloy that is highly corrosion resistant. So if you're taking it in the sea, which Breitling wants you to do, it will be resistant, but it will develop a subtle patina over time, allegedly, which might be quite nice. I always quite like the idea of a bronzy watch.
Yeah.
Changing over time, yeah. 300 meters of water resistance, good for a splashy watch. The caliber B17 inside, based on an ETA 2824, 38 hours of power reserve. What do you think about that, Andrew?
Yeah, it's not a problem. It's not a problem, but it's also not very in keeping. Tudor, their movement partner, they share movements with Tudor's movement manufacturer Kinesi.
Right.
Why are Breitling still using ETA? I don't really understand.
I don't mind it. It's fine. Tried and true.
38 hours of power reserve.
Yeah.
Instead of the 70 odd that we would expect. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, so anyway, there's a scratch-proof ceramic inlaid bezel. The bezel is unidirectional most sizes, but the 46mm has a bidirectional bezel, but with a painted lock at 9 o'clock, which is a little switch that you can lock the bezel in there. It gives it a little bit more width. I'm not sure if that's included in the 46mm, but hey, there you go.
Something else to press and play with when you're sat there in the office board.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Saying it's patented like it's this brand new thing, the Ploprof has had it since the 70s, so calm down, Breitling. But nice idea.
Maybe it's the shape. We've invented ridges.
Yeah, we've invented putting it in a slightly different place.
Patent approved.
Have you seen the colours yet?
Yeah. Nice array of colours, bright colours as to be expected this year.
Well, before you spoil what they are, dear viewer and listener, if you've been watching this with your eyes closed, maybe pause the video now and have a guess what colours you might think Breitling may have been inspired to use with this particular watch in order to make it popular.
Is it that shade of turquoise that's popular with that bint from the jewellery store?
You would be correct.
No, it's nice.
And also the colour of the season, green.
Green. Yeah, good.
Green, used very fetchingly with the bronze case and also with the steel case. Quite a nice pairing there. It's not just green, it's kind of got a smokiness to it. There's also brown and blue and orange, which is limited to 1,000 pieces. There's a navy blue too, and there's also black and white for 90% of the population. Yeah,
it's a nice spectrum of really bright and fresh and summery to quite rich and luxurious.
So prices range, given the enormous amount of specification on offer, from $4,600 to $6,700, which makes it fairly affordable. It's not as cheap as you would expect a Tudor Black Bay or the Black Bay 58 especially to be. But then again, the Breitling name is probably a better known name than Tudor, and I don't know. So, but the real question that I have with this watch is, does it look like a Rolex or not? I can't quite figure it out.
I didn't really think of that, to be honest. But yeah, maybe.
Let me pitch why I think it is. It looks like that.
Go on.
So are you familiar with the Rolex Deep Sea Challenge?
I think so.
Big chunky thing made for James Cameron's trip. Yeah. Big chunky rehaut with a Deep Sea Challenge stuff on it. So on that watch, 3-piece bracelet. We see that on the Superocean with a slight angle, as if that makes it different enough. The taper in the lugs and the chamfer at the end, quite chunky, quite aggressive angles. The bezel with those scalloped notches in it all the way around, kind of spaced and sized appropriately. The ceramic bezel with the greyish numbers in between rectangular markers and some of those hash marks. A little luminous pip. And then the minute track with very similar Rolex looking font numbers on it that kind of looks a bit like the rehaut on the Deep Sea Challenge, and then the tiny little dial in the middle with big bulbous numerals. Now, you might say, yeah, but it's a dive watch, and all dive watches look like that. But when you look at the old Superocean slow motion, it looks completely different. It looks completely different. Lugs are different, the bezel is different, the fonts are different, the arrangement of the minute track is different. It's completely different. You would never say the slow motion looks anything like the Deep Sea Challenge, but you go back to the Superocean Automatic and yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some concessions that need to be made, isn't there? I think they can take the little design cues that they like from their heritage version and mix it in with the current Superocean that people are familiar with. And then, you got to keep up with the big boys and check those boxes, ceramic bezel and things like that. Make sure it's at least competitive, I don't know, or comparable at least.
Yeah.
But like you say, a dive watch is a dive watch is a dive watch is a dive watch, Andrew. Come on.
I think somewhere between the design team and the commercial team, they've argued backwards and forwards on how much it should look like a Rolex and how much it should look like the slow motion, and they've settled on something in between. You get the square markers, you get the Breitling logo, the big square minute hand, which is inspired by the minute chronograph hand on the original. You've got the coloured tip on the second hand, which is inspired by the coloured ball that rotated on the original, and those square markers.
So they're saying the circular tip on the end of the second hand is inspired by the on-off chronograph indicator from the slow motion, not a Rolex second hand, right? It's just a happy coincidence.
They've painted the tip, and that's different. That needs a new patent. So I don't know. I think it's a very attractive looking watch, but it will be when you base some of it on a very attractive looking Rolex. Dear viewer and listener, help us decide. Have Breitling gone too far down the Rolex route, or if they really stuck more towards the slow motion, their original heritage? Very interested to see what the consensus is there. I'm on the fence. I think it's an attractive watch, but I think they are skirting close towards litigation territory for some of those design influences.
No, it's fine. I think it looks fine. I like it. I think the dial's different enough. Yeah, they've got that oversized minute indicator ring, which looks a little bit like a Rehaut on a deep sea. But other than that, I think it's distinctive enough. I think it looks like a Breitling. I really like it, actually. It's a nice line. That's something from Breitling I can get behind, I think. Yeah. Happy with that.
I really like it too. I think I prefer the Heritage 57, but I love to see that they're sourcing their knowledge more from their back catalogue once again and creating watches that are actually interesting and inspiring. So good on you, Breitling. And I will pat you on the back. Extra credit for doing the 36mm version. Thank you. So, there you have it, the new Breitling Superocean Automatic. Let us know what you think about it. While you're leaving your comment, do click the subscribe button. Make sure you've got the notification bell clicked too, so you see all our lovely, lovely videos in the future, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Surfer Squad!